Welcome to Your Deep Dive. We are going deep on Ikigai today, and you've probably heard of it. It's that Japanese concept, finding your reason for being, your purpose. We've got some excerpts from this book, Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life, and some insights from Maximum Brain Power, and a few articles that just really caught my eye. Ready to uncover your Ikigai.
Let's dive in. It's really interesting how the Japanese approach to work and life is so different. Yeah, there isn't even a direct translation for retirement in Japanese. It really highlights their emphasis on finding purpose throughout life,
Yeah.
not just in like a career.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if our Western idea of retirement, like this hard stop to working life, could actually be working against us. So how do we even begin to understand this whole concept of Ikigai?
Well, Ikigai is written with the characters for life and to be worthwhile, and it's about finding joy in being busy.
Okay.
But not just any kind of busy.
Yeah.
It's about purposeful action that brings you satisfaction and makes you feel like your life has meaning.
So it's not about running around like a chicken with its head cut off,
Right.
but about finding those activities that make you feel alive.
Exactly.
Maybe it's something you're passionate about, something you're good at, or something that contributes to the world.
Exactly. And to really see this in action, let's head over to Okinawa, Japan.
Okay.
This island has an unusually high concentration of centenarians, people living to 100 or older.
Wow.
And it's not just their diet, although they do eat incredibly well.
Okay.
Ikigai plays a huge role in their longevity.
Okay. But they're known for their healthy diet,
Yeah.
right? Lots of seafood and vegetables.
Right. But it goes beyond diet.
Yeah.
What's really fascinating is that dementia rates are significantly lower in Okinawa compared to like the global average.
Oh, wow.
This suggests that having a strong sense of ikigai or reason to get up each morning might contribute to a sharper mind as we age.
So finding your Ikigai isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. I like where this is going. What else sets the Okinawans apart?
They have this incredible social structure. It's called moai. These are informal support groups that provide a sense of community and even financial stability. It's like having built-in friends and support throughout your life.
It sounds like the opposite of our often isolated individualistic society. I bet that makes a huge difference in their overall well-being. Are there any other everyday practices that they use?
They practice hara hachibu, which is eating until they're 80% full. It's a form of mindful eating that helps them avoid overeating and stay in tune with their bodies. Have you ever noticed how you feel after eating a huge meal?
Ugh, yeah. I definitely feel that post-Thanksgiving dinner slump sometimes. But stopping at 80% full, that takes serious discipline. I wonder if we could all benefit from incorporating a little hara hachibu into our lives.
It's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
But how does this ancient Japanese philosophy fit in with our modern understanding of psychology? Well, it actually aligns quite well with Viktor Frankl's logotherapy. He was a Holocaust survivor who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. And his whole philosophy was centered on finding meaning in life as essential for survival and happiness.
So instead of dwelling on the negative, Frankl believed in finding a why, a reason to keep going, even in the face of suffering.
Exactly. And he argued that meaning isn't something we create, it's something we discover. It's out there waiting to be found. We just have to be open to the possibilities.
That's a powerful thought. But doesn't that put a lot of pressure on us? What if we never find our meaning?
Well, Frankl also believed that a little tension between what we've achieved and what we still want to achieve is actually healthy. It keeps us striving and growing. Think of it as the sweet spot between complacency and overwhelming pressure.
So it's about finding that balance between accepting where we are and pushing ourselves to become more.
Precisely. And this ties in perfectly with Csikszentmihalyi's concept of flow.
Okay.
You've probably experienced flow. It's that feeling of being completely absorbed in an activity where time seems to disappear and you're fully engaged in the moment.
Oh, absolutely. Like when I'm writing and the words just seem to flow effortlessly onto the page.
Yes.
Or when I'm lost in a good book and forget about everything else going on around me.
Those are great examples. Finding flow in our activities can bring us closer to our ikigai because it helps us tap into those things that truly engage us and make us feel alive.
So the more we experience flow, the more we get in touch with our purpose. I could see how that works. But how do we find this flow state more consistently, especially in our busy lives?
Well, the Japanese have a fascinating example of flow in the story of the Takumi master craftsmen who dedicate their lives to perfecting a specific craft.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me about these Takumi.
One example is a traditional Japanese brush maker.
Okay.
Imagine a factory with rows of people meticulously working on different parts of the brush, and then there's this crucial step, selecting and sorting the bristles.
Hmm.
This requires incredible focus and precision, so they have a dedicated Takumi hidden away in a separate building, bathed in natural light, completely immersed in the task.
Wow, that sounds incredibly peaceful and focused.
Yeah.
It's like their entire environment is designed to cultivate flow.
Exactly. And the Takumi's movements are so fluid, it's almost like a dance.
Wow.
They find deep satisfaction in this act of creation, even though it might seem mundane to an outsider.
It's a reminder that we can find flow and purpose in even the simplest of tasks if we approach them with the right mindset. I'm starting to see how this all connects, but let's be real, not everyone can dedicate their life to brush making. How can we apply this concept of flow to our modern, often chaotic lives?
That's where we get into the practical strategies for cultivating flow.
Okay.
It's all about setting ourselves up for success.
Okay, I'm ready to unlock my inner flow state. What are these strategies?
So research suggests there are a few key ingredients to achieving flow. First, you need a task that challenges you, but isn't so difficult that it becomes overwhelming.
That makes sense. It's like finding that sweet spot where you're engaged but not frustrated. Too easy and you get bored too hard and you just give up.
Exactly. The next step is having a clear objective. Knowing exactly what you're aiming for helps you stay focused and motivated.
But what about those times when we feel pulled in a million directions, like we're constantly bombarded with distractions and can't seem to focus on any one thing?
That brings us to the third and arguably most important ingredient for flow: eliminating distractions. In our hyper-connected world, that's easier said than done. But there are things you can do. Start by creating a designated workspace, even if it's just a corner of your kitchen table. And then set boundaries with your technology. Try turning off notifications or using website blockers to minimize online temptations.
I've been trying to be more mindful of my phone usage. Sometimes I feel like I'm just mindlessly scrolling, and it definitely doesn't help me focus. Have you ever tried that Pomodoro technique where you work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break?
It's a great technique. Breaking down tasks into focused intervals can boost productivity and prevent burnout. And speaking of burnout, let's talk about multitasking. We often think we're getting more done when we juggle multiple things at once, but research suggests the opposite is true.
Wait, really? I feel like I'm a master multitasker. I'm always switching between emails, phone calls, and to-do lists. Are you saying I should stop?
Our brains aren't actually wired for parallel processing. When we multitask, we're constantly shifting our attention, which drains mental energy and makes us less efficient.
So focusing on one task at a time is actually the key to getting more done. That's a tough pill to swallow, but I'm willing to give it a try.
You might be surprised at the results. And it's not just about productivity. Studies have shown that multitasking can actually lower our IQ temporarily.
Wow, that's a scary thought. I definitely don't need my IQ to take a hit. But even if we manage to eliminate distractions and single task like pros, there are still going to be challenges and setbacks in life, right? How does Ikigai help us deal with those inevitable bumps in the road?
That's where the concept of resilience comes in. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity to keep moving forward, even when things get tough.
So it's about having that inner strength to persevere even when facing challenges.
Exactly. And it's something we can cultivate. Both Buddhist and Stoic philosophies offer some interesting insights on building resilience. Buddhism teaches us to accept impermanence and let go of attachments. It's about recognizing that change is inevitable, and trying to control everything just leads to suffering.
So it's about learning to go with the flow, to ride the waves of life instead of fighting against the current. But how does that translate into practical advice?
Well, Stoicism offers a practice called negative visualization. This might seem counterintuitive, but it's about mentally preparing for potential setbacks. By imagining the worst-case scenario, we actually reduce our anxiety and build resilience.
It's like taking the power away from those fears by confronting them head on. It makes sense in a way, but it seems like there's a fine line between preparing for the worst and letting those fears consume you.
That's where mindfulness comes in. Both Buddhism and Stoicism emphasize the importance of living in the present moment. When we're dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, we're not fully engaged in the now.
So it's about being present in our lives, accepting both the good and the bad, and using those experiences as opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of overlap between these ancient philosophies and the modern concept of mindfulness.
Yeah, absolutely. And this brings us to another fascinating Japanese concept, wabi-sabi.
I've heard that term before, but I'm not sure I fully understand it. Is it about minimalism?
It's about finding beauty in imperfection. It's about appreciating the cracks and flaws, the things that make something unique and authentic.
It sounds like the opposite of our culture's obsession with perfection.
Exactly. Wabi-sabi teaches us to embrace the natural cycles of growth and decay. It's about recognizing that nothing is permanent, and that's okay. In fact, it's what makes life interesting.
This is really making me rethink my own values. I'm definitely someone who strives for perfection, but I can see how that can lead to a lot of stress and anxiety.
Striving for excellence is great, but it's important to balance that with acceptance and self-compassion. Remember, wabi-sabi encourages us to appreciate those imperfections in ourselves as well. It's about letting go of the need to be perfect and embracing our authentic selves.
I love that. It's like giving ourselves permission to be human, to make mistakes, and to grow from those experiences.
And speaking of embracing experiences, there's another beautiful Japanese concept called Ichigo. It translates to, this moment exists only now and won't come again. It's a reminder to cherish each experience, each encounter as something precious and fleeting.
It makes you want to really savor those special moments, knowing that they'll never happen again in exactly the same way.
It's a powerful antidote to regret and worry. When we're fully present in the moment, we're not dwelling on the past or fretting about the future.
It's like we're giving ourselves the gift of truly experiencing life as it unfolds. I'm starting to see how all these concepts, resilience, wabi-sabi, ichigo, are all connected to finding our ikigai. They're all about appreciating the present moment, embracing our imperfections, and finding joy in the journey. But what about those times when we face major challenges or setbacks? How do we move beyond simply bouncing back and actually grow stronger from those experiences?
That's where the idea of anti-fragility comes in.
Okay, anti-fragility, that's a new one for me.
It's a term coined by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and it refers to things that actually gain from disorder.
Hold on, things that benefit from chaos. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that.
Think of it this way. Resilience is about withstanding shocks and staying the same. Anti-fragility is about getting stronger from those shocks.
Okay, I need an example.
Think about the 2011 tsunami in Japan. Some towns were completely devastated and couldn't recover. Those were fragile systems. Other towns were severely damaged, but managed to rebuild those who were resilient. But then there were the Japanese construction companies. The need to rebuild the entire coastline led to a huge increase in demand for their services. They actually benefited from the disaster that's anti-fragility in action.
So while resilience is about weathering the storm, anti-fragility is about using the storm to propel you forward.
Exactly. And while we can't always control when those storms hit, we can take steps to make ourselves more anti-fragile.
Okay, tell me more. How do we do that?
One way is by creating redundancies. Instead of relying on a single income source, explore multiple streams of income. Instead of having one very close friend, cultivate a diverse network of relationships.
So it's like diversifying our lives to create a safety net so we're not completely devastated if one area falls apart. That's a smart strategy. What else?
Take calculated risks. Step outside your comfort zone in ways that could lead to significant growth, even if there's a chance of failure.
It's not about being reckless. It's about being open to new possibilities and embracing opportunities for growth.
I like that.
Are there any other tips for cultivating anti-fragility?
Finally, eliminate things that make you fragile. Bad habits, toxic relationships, anything that weighs you down and makes you more susceptible to setbacks. Think of it as clearing out the clutter to create space for positive growth.
So it's a two-pronged approach.
Yeah.
Add strength and remove weakness. It's about building a solid foundation that can withstand life's inevitable challenges. This is really giving me a lot to think about. It seems like Ikigai is more than just finding a career you love. It's about embracing a whole philosophy of living.
Exactly. And to really understand this philosophy, we need to delve into the heart of where it all began. Let's go back to Okinawa and hear what the centenarians, these living embodiments of Ikigai, have to say about finding purpose and living a long and happy life.
Okay. I'm ready for more wisdom from the masters of longevity. What did you learn from them?
So you actually went to Okinawa and met with these centenarians.
I did. I'm so curious to hear what they had to say about Ikigai. Did it match up with all this research?
It was truly amazing. You know, these folks weren't just living long lives, they were thriving. And their way of life wasn't about some complicated formula or strict rules. It was about simple yet profound everyday practices.
Can you give me an example? What were some of the things that struck you most?
Their sense of community was remarkable. They truly valued their relationships with family, friends, and neighbors. It wasn't just about big gatherings or special occasions. It was about those small daily interactions that weave people together.
So it wasn't just about having a support system. It was about actively creating and nurturing those connections.
Exactly. They made time for things like sharing a cup of tea with a friend or singing karaoke together, or even just greeting passersby with a smile and a wave. These small acts of kindness and connection created a ripple effect of positivity throughout their community.
I love that. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest things can have the biggest impact. Do they have any specific advice on how to live a longer, more fulfilling life?
They had a saying, never retire, always stay active. And it wasn't about clinging to a job. It was about finding purpose in every stage of life and continuing to contribute to the world around them.
So it wasn't about leisure and relaxation. It was about finding new ways to engage with life, even in their later years.
Precisely. And they weren't interested in rushing or stressing about things. They lived at a slower pace, savoring the simple pleasures of life, tending to their gardens, enjoying traditional dances, and celebrating birthdays with gusto.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of modern life that we forget to appreciate those simple moments of joy. Did they talk much about their diet? I know the Okinawan diet is considered one of the healthiest in the world.
They emphasized eating mindfully, stopping when they felt 80% full, and their diet was naturally rich in vegetables, fruits, and whole grains, with seafood playing a moderate role. And they drank lots of green tea and shikawasa juice, both packed with antioxidants.
So it's not about deprivation or following strict rules. It's about enjoying delicious, nourishing foods and paying attention to your body's signals. What about their outlook on life? Did they seem generally optimistic and happy?
They definitely had a positive outlook. They laughed, often focused on the good, and maintained a cheerful disposition. They seemed to understand the power of a positive mindset and its impact on health and well-being.
It's amazing to think that something as simple as choosing to focus on the positive can actually contribute to a longer, healthier life. It's a powerful reminder that we have more control over our well-being than we often realize.
You know, their wisdom aligns beautifully with all the research and concepts we've discussed today about Ikigai. It's not about striving for some grand, elusive purpose. It's about embracing the simple joys of life, connecting with others, and living each day with intention and gratitude.
I feel like I've learned so much from this deep dive. It's given me a whole new perspective on finding purpose and living a more fulfilling life.
And remember, the journey to finding your Ikigai is unique and personal. Stay curious. Embrace the exploration and allow your passions to guide you.
As the poet Miso Aida said, happiness is always determined by your heart. That's a beautiful reminder to look within and trust that our own hearts will lead us to where we need to be.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Ikigai. We hope it inspires you to find your own reason for being and live a life filled with purpose, joy, and fulfillment.